I think that's everything. Hello. No, you. No more questions.
Okay.
It's alright. Yeah, my name's Oliver. I work at Zynga. I'm here to give you a talk on great design everywhere. And I'll tell you what that means in just a second. Sorry if the title is kind of vague. I'd like to, first off, introductions, I'd like to point out that my name is Oliver. O-L-I-V-R, not Olivier, as some of you may have been led to believe. Although maybe I've got this all wrong, there is an Olivier who's come from Zynga, and I've stolen his time. That would be pretty bad. Hello! So I'm a MA graduate. Well, I have 2 degrees in game design. I've published games on Xbox Live, Arcade, Xbox Indie Games, Mobile, App Store. Now I work at Zynga, so who are me? At Zynga, I work on a bunch of stuff, but mainly I'm the lead designer on a game called Empires and Allies. Has anyone here played Empires and Allies? You've got 2? Okay, so Empires and Allies, well, 8 million people have played it. Well, daily, we get around 8 million people playing it at peak. And it's like, imagine a game like Farmville, except you can just go and blow people up. It's like an online strategy title for Facebook. It's really aimed at trying to bring the strategy game to the masses. That's me in the game. I introduced myself as a black market dealer. I traded scrap for illegal parts. People loved it. Okay, Zynga make other games. Just mind you. And what you may, does anyone recognize any of these? Because nobody recognizes Empires and Allies. It's worth asking. Like, if you have played at least one of these, or heard of at least one of these, put your hands up. Yes! There you go. So I'm pretty happy about that. Because these games are, well, they're aimed at all kinds of demographics, and yeah, and they're also multi-platform. They're literally games for everyone. We're trying to reach demographic. Also, those who are new, we have Farmville 2 coming out, and our games are getting constantly more fun. I mean, you can see immediately that it's in full 3D, and that picture there is actually the new Cityville, which is actually a full 3D game. Also, mechanically, these games are getting a lot more advanced. If any of you have played Farm 2, it's recently a bit like smashed it on Facebook. You might notice that like the animal behaviors have a lot of depth to them, and there's really great like crafting mechanics that you managed to do. Oh, sorry, the big walking thing in the middle. That's something I recently designed, and the team released Empires and Allies. It's a big title. So it just goes to show that on our existing games, we're actually constantly evolving them and making them better. So the game that you may have played at release is actually a lot different to the game that's being played now. It's actually a lot better. Okay. So it wouldn't be a Zynga talk without a couple of numbers. So 306 million monthly users. That's a lot. That's everybody who plays Zynga games. So what we have, we're by far the biggest supplier of free games to people. So that translates to about 72 million people playing every single day. So these people are actually making a habit out of playing our games. They're logging into the deal every day and doing a couple of jobs or popping some bubbles on and we also have a very broad reach, 175 countries, including Poland. Yeah, but we also translate a lot of our games into Polish. In fact, I recently found out that Turkey played Empires and Allies more than any other country. I fully expect to go to Turkey and be like greeted as a hero at some point. Maybe they'll have posters of me. Maybe not. Okay. Zynga is also a global company. I work in a lot of these, out of a bunch of these offices. I travel around quite a lot. I was originally in Los Angeles, and now I'm based in Bangalore, in India. I've come all the way from Bangalore today, actually, to try and convince some of you as to why you should be looking to make games for other demographics, and particularly in social games. Not just like Zynga games, but like all games really, like in the social space. So, not really here to recruit for it. I think it's first a good idea to clarify what a designer does in a team. And so, like, even some of my managers ask me what I do, and I tell them I do everything, I do pretty much everything. What do you mean? I'm gonna. Well, I figured how many of you guys are like students right now studying? How many? Okay, a lot. So a lot of you want to get into design, so I thought it would be a good idea to do a quick run through the responsibilities of the designer. You see here I've missed out prototyping. If you're an independent designer, you could add all those to your repertoire, things you need to do. So I personally, like, you might be like, Oliver, these are too many skills. I'm really dedicated to my acrobatics circus club. I can't possibly do all of those. Well, I say, no, don't worry, acrobatics is safe, but you can just focus on 3 things. They pretty much spill out to every aspect of game design. I'll start with prototyping. You should always be making games. In fact, it's commonly said in the industry that the first 20 games you make as a designer are complete rubbish. You should probably get those out of the way first, and then start making some good stuff. Conceptualization. I mean that in a very artistic way. You should be quite fluent artistically, like drawing, basic principles of UI design, stuff like that. That's all stuff you can do in your own time. Documentation. I don't know anyone who does that in their own time, apart from me. University is actually a really great place to get your writing style down and get things concise. I really recommend that you go to university if you want to be a designer, simply to get all this, be in that critical environment and really advance your documentation skills. When I say documentation, it's mostly for games. So I have a quick cheat sheet, and this is mainly I'll put this online later, so you can read through it. I'm not going to go through it then. So narrative design. As a designer, you're in charge of the whole story, pretty much. Well, if you're focused on narrative design, you could be focused in systems or something. But in a general sense, you're very much in charge of the narrative arc of the game. Scenario design. So that's a lot to do with scripting, deciding the critical path of the game, deciding objectives, leading people to it. Same with level design, a lot to do with critical path. Feature design, that's what you do a lot of social games, especially running games. So, for example, you might be put on an existing game like Farmville and like, hey, Oliver, reinvent this game, make it cool again. And I'm like, yes, I'll design some features that will totally kick ass. So this is one of your responsibilities. And Empires and Allies actually recently got nominated by the GDC for Best Visual Arts online. I was like, feature. It also got nominated for Best Online Social Game. Like, that was really amazing. So I should mention. Okay. Yeah, and all those things. Particularly marketing, like as a designer, you've got to sell ideas and you've got to make them sound attractive and feasible. So you've got to also fund you. Even if it's to your team, you need to sell an idea. Unless you're working totally by yourself. No, even if you're working totally by yourself, you should be selling your own ideas to yourself in some kind of weird conversation. Right? So designers. A I like to say that designers have devoted themselves to the medium of video games. Well, at Zynga in particular, designers have come from all kinds of backgrounds, MMO, AAA, and we're all there simply to provide a great experience to customers. There's a picture of me at the LA studio, and a lot of those guys actually worked on Command & Conquer before here. And as you can see, that's from the bottom right. That's a gaming setup we got in the San Francisco studio where we're playing Halo. So there's a big gaming culture, and as designers, we're all idealists. We believe in great games for everyone. But as you may take that ideal too far and think, hey, as a designer, I just want to make games for myself. That's what I want to do. Because that's kind of like working for yourself. And that it's actually totally okay to make games for yourself, by the way, if you want to go do that. But don't forget that game designers serve the people. And I mean that in every sense of it. The fireman takes care of the community, putting out fires. So the game designer provides entertainment. That's what he does. And it shouldn't really matter who he's providing a service for, as long as they're happy. Okay. Games are an experiential medium. So in the same way you go into a cinema and you sit down and enjoy the movie, games are the same way. You sit down and you have an experience, right? So in the same way as a director, you need to be thinking about user experience at all times. At all times. And yeah, that gets pretty scary. Original, by the way. So when you're running a game, like Empires and Allies, all these people, tens of thousands, are playing at this very moment as I'm speaking. I should probably try not to think about it too much, because I'm always worried that those guys are having a nice time. Whether I get really worried that something might have broken. Maybe I've just shipped a feature that wasn't executed as well as I wanted it to be, but due to time constraints or whatever, I had to release it. So sometimes I just feel like issuing an apology, saying sorry, I could have done better for you, but I just didn't nail it this time. Other times you get a huge feeling of pride. When you release a feature and the forums, your fan base just lights on fire, and everyone is saying how great your game is. You generally feel like ego inflates, and yeah, it's really an awesome feeling. So pride and fear. So yeah, at times of pride, I generally get the feeling that as long as my players are happy, whether they're young, old, male, female, as long as they're happy, I'm happy. And designers, that's really what we need. We need to start thinking about games for ourselves. I mean, why should I have a AAA experience, say Mass Effect or Dishonored, whereas my sister has to endure some crappy pet sim on the iPad or something? I mean, I know those two things aren't directly comparable, but I guess you get the point. It's all about the quality of the experience. I want to say games for everyone. I'm not saying that you should take the game that you made, and somehow make it so general, water it down, that it's just it's so anyone can play it. That's not really what. You're welcome to try it, by the way. Some people tried and succeeded. But what I'm saying is that you should really be focusing on different demographics. Empires and Allies actually tried that with the social, the RTS genre, trying to bring it to the masses, and it worked. It really did. And yeah, so what really annoys me about some people's attitude towards Facebook games, so some aspiring designers or some designers currently in the industry tend to think there's a big problem going on in Facebook games. But if you're a designer and you've decided to devote your whole life to the medium, surely you should feel some kind of responsibility to actually go and do something about that and provide those experiences for everyone, right? So designers, we should unite. We should consider ourselves the providers of entertainment to everyone, not just some of the people, all of the people. Because, yeah, the amount of gamers that have sort of flooded the market now, well, when you call somebody a gamer, you talk about anyone these days, not just guys like me. Currently, this is kind of the pinnacle of social game design, which is right there on this slide. I may take that off as you steal it. But, we give people hoops, and they get into the game, and there's never a lack of things to do. You just go along on this wheel. For example, the building civic building. This is the calling of city build, by the way. So you're building civic buildings. Civic buildings increase your population cap. So you build houses. With houses, they increase population, and population more civic buildings. And it just keeps going and going. You always have stuff to do, and that's super important. But at the same time, it's the randomized experience curve. People are always moving along that, and there is actually an end to our game, despite us always claiming that there's no end to Farmville, you can just play it forever. There's the end of the level. What happens there? Like, as social game designers, we haven't really thought about the elder game very much, and what happens when people get to the end of like all of the content. So maybe if you want to get into the social game space, you should really think about solving this problem. Okay. So think of the future for a little bit. Imagine like 10 years back, what do you imagine games to be? And now think of the present. Was it everything you expected it to become? If you thought that games would suddenly become so accessible and on you, and you're actually a very peculiar person, because games have become very, very peculiar things. There's this weird thing being thrown around called gamification, and it's about applying game-like mechanics to everyday behavior. I'm not sure I entirely agree with what the theories say about this, because like money generally encourages me to do things, not game mechanics, but they have it. So when I decide to shop at a particular place or take a particular airline, I generally make that decision based off how much disposable income we have, not because I've gotten those points. But anyway, game companies, this is a craze that's coming, and who do you think is going to be responsible for this? Game designers who have a good idea about how to make a decent like feedback loop, or someone else? Can we have like some kind of responsibility over this, like providing games for everyone? So the market's getting huge. There are relatively very few game designers and a massive amount of gamers. We really need to start making games for everyone. I mean, Facebook recently peaked at 1 billion players, 1 billion users, and Android, well, mobile is still growing at a rapid pace. So, yeah, that's something we can talk. Game designers should unite. We should be providing experiences for everyone, not just some of the people. I'm open to questions. Thank you very much, Luca.
So, about the quality of the experience we are providing as game designers. If you took the games you made, actually this is not my question, it's coming from Daniel Cook, but I think it's an excellent question. If you took all the games you made and all the people who played them and take all the time that they devoted to play your games, do you think it was worth this time for them?
Oh, was it worth playing
hours? Do you think playing those games was a good use for that time that they spent?
I think, isn't there like a general rule once you spend 10,000 hours on something, you're a master at it, regardless of what it is. Regardless of what you're doing, you're always learning something, right? And I believe when you're playing games, you're actually learning some kind of skill, whether it's time management or anything like that, right? Keeping a regular schedule. So yeah, I think it is worth it, like tangentially. Empires Now is a strategy game. I hope that people learn a thing or two. And like we use things like real tank names. Maybe somebody's played Empires and Allies and thought, oh, that's a cool tank. Maybe I'll go look it up on Wikipedia and I'll learn about it. You know, so we're not like directly impacting people in a sense, like putting all that information in the game. We're giving like people the option to go and explore further and we're not forcing things down their throats. So I guess your question is like, our games are a waste of time, right?
No, it's more about the responsibility of the designer to decide what his players should spend time on.
So how they should play their game? Well,
no. Are you making a game that actually makes, that is actually worth playing? That is actually worth spending this time on? And it's not really a yes or no question, but it's something you
yes.
keep in mind when you are making stuff.
So 8 million people a day. You could argue that they can't be wrong. I mean, they love the game. They may not be guys like you, whoever they are, right? Mostly people in Turkey apparently really love the game. So I don't think it's fair to say that they're wasting their time. And as far as like how people spend their time in a particular game, I think people should be able to play the game however they want. Like, not as in go for everything, but we should always afford them options. Get into details about that, about how we structure it. Maybe you could ask me. Yeah, I do that all the time. I'm going to waste so much time. I don't really think about how I can really, people play games to circumvent boredom sometimes, and you're just trying to provide an experience that's interesting enough. I mean, I don't think, oh, this is interesting enough. I try to make it interesting possible. But if you think about games as casual, then maybe you're playing Facebook in another tab in another browser, and you know, it can't be that demanding of your time. So don't be generally in Facebook games, we're not very demanding of time. You can quit and start there.
More questions? Hey, do you usually think about a specific target group when you're designing a game? I don't know, the usual target group like all, or I don't know, 15 to 28 for instance?
Yes. Definitely. If you weren't thinking of a target audience when making a game, I don't know what you'd be doing. You'd be lost. Sure, the user experience comes first, right? So surely you should be thinking about who the users are. Empires and Allies is for teenagers mostly, but older players play as well. Anyone who's into strategy.
Yeah, because well, I'm just thinking about, for instance, Farmville. I think it was also for I don't know someone who was young, but I don't.
So that's very that's a game that's been tried to make it as general as possible, but it still isn't for everyone, is it?
Well, yeah, I know. Women who are 40 or 50 and they're playing Farmville, so it's not a kid game for sure. So I think for all.
I don't know if it's a kid game because it's really it demands your time sometimes. You need to be able to keep a schedule. Maybe kids haven't developed the skills so much, so it's not really for them. It's for an older audience. Yep. Everyone's been really nice.
Okay, so you gave us those nice big numbers about telling how many people play your games, Zynga games every day, but they're big because some games like Farmville encourages or even forces some gamers to play it every day.
We never force people.
Well, it's not forcing that you must play, but it's forcing that you should play it every day. But because if you not play it every day, you will not be that, I don't know, effective. It's about that
So yeah.
things that you have points to do something every 2 hours, and
Surely that's
there is cap, and you should actually play it every day.
If I
Not
didn't
waste.
play the game so often, right, I've completed at a slower pace. Whereas if I played it all in one session, I can complete it. I mean, that's something that's been around in gaming for a long time. I think what you talk about is something we call emotional hooks. So we try and make people care about what's going on in the game. That actually happens a lot in AAA as well. Like,
World of Warcraft, World of Tanks.
yeah, but those are service games, right? They're storing your data in the cloud somewhere. I'm talking about a one-time experience games, right? You complete it and it's done. So they also try and make you care, but in fact they're a lot more ineffective. I mean, when's the last time or maybe even during Skype, but that's like a lot of text. Generally, like I find it really hard caring about what's going on in a game like Splinter Cell. Like my daughter's been kidnapped, but I've only known her for like 5 minutes, so I don't really want to go up. Whereas a game like this, we have huge narrative arcs that last months. So people like really start caring about that. I think we do a better job of telling a story. In fact, storytelling is better suited to this kind of market. I do eat. It's not good.
You know that your words can be understood like you want to addict the player slowly.
Addict. It's just getting people like. I'm talking on the emotional side, right? Because what games really like, you don't eat them like you eat food. You don't. They're like a completely optional thing. So how do you get people to care about what you do? Well,
yeah, but
addiction. In fact, some game designers are really proud that they managed to addict players. Like, personally, I'm not like really proud of that. But at the same time, I don't feel like I think players come back to a good game not because, because they feel the need to harvest their houses or anything. They'll leave eventually. Eventually, that doesn't really do much for them in the long run. You've got to really get them emotionally attached to what you're doing. And there are a bunch of techniques to do that.
yeah, but still it requires a lot of attention, like Farmville, but there is still some option that you can make a game that give you a lot of emotions and enjoy, but don't addict you. It requires so often visits and
Well, surely if you like played that game to completion, you were addicted to it for a short amount of time, right? I mean, I don't really understand. You talk about engagement, and engagement is purely based on people's interest in the game. Say, oh, it's evil because you were addicted, you made them addicted, like eating heroin or something, it's not. Okay.
About the social aspect of the games, especially, I mean, Zynga's.
Yes.
Often you force players to make their friends to invite them to games to play the next levels.
Yeah.
Don't you think you are missing a huge part of, for example, hardcore players?
Yes. Totally.
Because I would like to play your games, but I just hate forcing my friends to play them.
So yeah, that's a double-edged sword, right? We're providing this really casual experience, but at the same time, people get to just forget that the game even exists because they're playing it so willy-nilly. They just so you have to kind of remind them by like doing. I don't really think it's the best thing to do.
Yeah, right. Like if Zynga made,
How else are you supposed to remind people that you exist?
if Zynga made something like eSport, it would be great.
Yeah, it would be. That would be really great.
Because you could like make this connected social aspect of how players.
Yeah, it would be great. You're right. Maybe we should do it. Maybe soon.
A side note on esports being social, just like Facebook being social, but a lot of esport games do have retention mechanics that try and get people to play every day and addicted to them. And just because they're in a AAA model doesn't mean that they are necessarily better. But I think that what do you think? There's one thing that social games in general on the platform Facebook could do that would make them more accessible for this target audience of, let's say, the AAA gamer, or the guy who's like very proud to be a gamer, but make him feel that he's having a similar experience on Facebook and what? What do you think is the one thing that's making a certain demographic like that not play games on Facebook, and what could you change? Such as inviting your friends, forcing them to invite friends to progress. If you could, would you take that out, or would you try and create something else?
Oh right, if I could change one thing. If I change one thing, it would be to make social more social. It would be to bring in synchronous. When I say synchronous, like all of our games are asynchronous, right? You log in, make your leisure, and then you play it, and then you send a message to your friend, and he picks that up. And here's like it's like sending text messages. That's the way I like to think about it. But I think to make more interesting social interactions, you really need to go synchronous. And once you go synchronous, you feel more involved in your community, and then as sort of all those viral things will just go. We don't need them anymore because people are so much more attached to what's going on. But then again, you can't demand that of like the soccer moms in America, right? It's like suddenly you're playing a synchronous game. So they just. That's why we changed. Does that make sense? Sorry.
Yeah, it will be a short question. Do you think that casual games are future of gaming, and if yes, where is the place of hardcore games in the future?
I believe the two will blend together. Like, you're saying casual games. Casual games will never sort of take some kind of, they'll never graduate to AAA or anything like that. They're happy where they are, so keep them where they are. There's no, like, you won't all of a sudden, they would enjoy Skyrim among my sister. But I'm talking about from a purely, like, mechanical level. From the perspective like freemium, I think AAA games will go freemium pretty soon actually. In fact, they're already going freemium. So, but we're going to see that in a big way like next year. What was the second part of the question? Cool. I hope I answered that sufficiently. Oh, you talk about the blending. So the two things are distinctly different. Casual gamers, I tend to call them people with a different attitude to gaming as hardcore gamers. Like they think that gaming is a waste of time. They don't think that playing hardcore isn't playing a game. They think it's like, oh, I'm working on this thing, flexibility is so wonderful. This isn't a waste of time. How can it be? But then they see a gamer spending their time and attention on like an esports game. Like, well, all that time and attention can be spent doing something else. Therefore, you're wasting time. You're doing something more productive. Whereas sitting back and watching TV, for example, is a good one. You're not like making a conscious effort to like change what's going on. Therefore, people don't regard that as a waste of time. because it's all a matter of effort, right?
So you don't think casual games could be used as a stepping stone to teach, to make some casual gamers into more hardcore gamers?
No, that's never gonna happen. I mean, it's like trying to change people.
Well, people change all the time.
As an individual, you might change throughout your life. Talk to your parents. As for the kind of games we like we recently released Farmville 2, it's a lot more advanced, right? But it's aimed at the same demographic. They're not graduating per se. We've got a lot of the same mechanics in there, and they're familiar with that. So be happy staying around. If there was a need, if like our player suddenly said, "Hey, we want synchronous combat in Farmville," we'd be like, "Yeah, sure." I'm not saying that you should bend to the will of your players. You should give them an experience that you intended.
I mean, casual games are making games more acceptable for I don't know,
Exactly.
adult people. So
Yeah, it's good for all of us, right? So
it kind of also makes it easier to become a hardcore gamer because it's suddenly acceptable to play games.
I believe there are actually statistics on that. A very small percentage of kids that actually graduate. So it's actually quite believable that, hey, you know, you introduce people to gaming through Farmville, and they work their way up, and then Counter-Strike, and they're in hardcore. You know, like, there's a progression curve. No, it doesn't work like that. It's like, you can gradually, throughout the lifespan of the game, make things more complex and introduce bigger concepts, and people adopt that. But if you were to give them all of that right at the beginning of your game, then people get confused and they'll leave. So that's what I mean about like sustaining our existing games, making them more advanced. You saw the Titan from Empires and Allies. That's like it's got like an advanced crafting system. The combat system is far more complex. And our players loved it because they're ready for something. When the game started, they weren't ready. We gradually built them up to that. And soon, like, maybe we'll do serious combat because we feel that they're ready for it and they want that experience. Because as our game gets older, our player base shrinks, but it becomes a lot more core, right? And those die-hard players really want that experience. We're no longer trying to go as broad as possible. So, in a way, they are graduating within their comfort zone.
Okay, something about relationship about casual games and hardcore games, or casual elements in game and hardcore game elements. Actually, you can create game which is casual on level, required to have fun, required to play game, but you can also add some elements for hardcore players to play more efficiently or create more advanced, interesting things. Well, I can give example like game Minecraft. It's very casual on a basic layer, but actually me and my brother consider these games as pretty hardcore if you look at some deeper mechanics or some back features you can use to create some different
Yeah, Minecraft is a great example of simplicity in games. So you have a bunch of core elements, and those things can interact to create a bunch of different behaviors. So
that is explored by hardcore players.
And in fact, like in a sense, we do the same thing. Like I was working on a game called Build. If anyone knows Build, maybe. But the game was all about like just decorating a house, and we gave people like a bunch of sofas and stuff. They used them in like all manner of like creative ways. It was like really quite surprising. And then you look at Minecraft and you kind of see a parallel. this is the kind of equitable version of Minecraft. Like housewives will come into that game and think, oh, decorating the home, I can get that. Like as opposed to like mining the ground, getting coal, and then crafting things. People aren't so familiar with that. In fact, in game theory, it's called the schema theory, where we're trying to provide experiences that people expect. And then, so decorating a home is something really easy to get into, except there's so much potential to it. In fact, when I was out, I introduced like gardens, and people could decorate their gardens, go outside and stuff. People really took to that. They made like massive desert safaris, things like that. And I didn't even release like a desert safari. They just made out stuff, like different collages and things I'd already used. So it was like, I'm really surprised. There is such thing as like the hardcore casual player. And they'll really like dig deep into the game. In fact, in Empires and Allies, everyone like dug into all the system design and like told me that my level curve was bonkers and I shouldn't do it that way. Like, those kind of guys are sort of scary. They exist.
Casual, hardcore, casual.
Yeah, I know. So that's why I think casual is not really the right word to use. They're just games.
Like in Minecraft, building, mining, but when you watch the YouTube, there are some videos how to make super fast piston brake system, which will do some crazy stuff. That's rather hardcore for a game about building houses.
So Minecraft is actually quite a cool game, right? I mean, the way in which you access it. You've got to go to the website, and you can't really discover anything inside the game unless you look at tutorials and stuff like that. At least that's how it was when I was playing. I don't know if they actually put a tutorial in. So it is actually a really cool game. But I know because I prototyped games like Minecraft and swiftly realized that this is way too hardcore for somebody who enjoys decorating like things like breeding, like recently a game on iOS called Veil came out. It was all about breeding dragons. And you combine dragons, you've got like different types of dragons out. And then you can keep breeding them and look at all these all manner of dragons. It was pretty awesome. So this is a great example of how you make a really simple game for those demographics and still have that level of depth that you need. It's just maybe not in the way that you might expect to be free. But there is some freedom, and enjoy that freedom. You can't play the game however you want, but people feel like they can have several options that you can have.
Thank you.
About blending games like hardcore games and social games, there are several ongoing projects right now, like Epic Games, Fortnite. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's like a social game, but it's an Xbox game, a PC game. It's where you play with your friends, you build a base.
Is that like Source Force or something?
Yeah, maybe. And there are two parts of this game. One, you build a town, and then you need to defend it from the zombies. It's like a tower defense, but a social tower defense. You play with your friends on your Xbox, and I think it's reasonable to think that hardcore gamers like Gears of War players are able to jump in that game and play Fortnite with their friends. But
it's not made by Machines, right?
Yeah, it's Machines game. But how would you convince a Facebook player, a social gamer, to jump in an Xbox game?
We've been over this. They don't. They like social game, people involved in that kind of game. Or maybe they are gamers as well.
But if you want to improve your games, fine. You eventually will have to make those games cross-platform, like console games.
Oh, yeah. So cross-platform. So cross-platform generally means that you can play games on your mobile device and play them on your desktop. I'm not sure. It's usually a decision based off the demographics of people who play Xbox console games. Those cross-platforms are generally Xbox included, right? Those games already have a great amount of content, great games to play while they want to play.
So, if Zynga were to make an Xbox game, how would you make it?
How would I make the next Zynga game?
Yeah, how would you make an Xbox game?
How would I make it?
Yeah, like, that's Zynga.
So how would I make a game that's designed to not be demanding of your time?
Yes, and be a social game at the same time.
Be social. Well, there are plenty of social games on Xbox already, right? I mean, like I find playing TDM on Gears of War quite social, right? Already, like there's already that aspect there. So what you're really asking me is like, how do we make something quite chill on Xbox? But the thing is, once you sat down and you decided to turn your console on, you sort of resigned yourself to a 6-hour session. That's me, maybe a 2-hour session for an old guy. So Zynga games have no place on Xbox. That's what I'm trying to say. Like your session time is generally maximum like 30 minutes if you're really highly like engaged in this game. We don't really do many games that last so long. I mean, Bubble Safari, it's like a must-move type game. You can actually play that game for a while, but that follows an arcade system. Like, as long as you're good, you won't die, and therefore you can keep continuing. So it'll probably be a game like that, an arcade-style game. That's a really difficult question. I think I nailed it. Try something like Street Fighter, maybe social fighter. And then if you lose, then it'll actually tell you to put down the game and go read a book.
Thank you.
So I wanted to go back to something you said previously, that with these attachment mechanics, this thing where players come back after a day, after a week, you can really tell a story. You can really make it meaningful.
Like players can actually have some kind of wakefulness. They can change the course of the story if they do a certain action. So we're actually creating like a lot of agency in storytelling as well.
What I immediately thought of is bedtime stories, where the parents are telling some stories to the kids before the bed, and they say, okay, the rest of the story I will tell you tomorrow. Right. And the rest of the story tomorrow.
It's a technique commonly employed by television series. What happens next week?
Right.
Find out. Cliffhangers.
But with the bedtime stories, you actually can, also have some say in what happens.
Yeah.
Because you are affecting the story, because the parents are inventing it.
Yeah, we're doing like new story releases. Like on big games, we're doing like 2 releases a week. So that's 2 like quests a week, and we literally can't keep up with our elder players. They are churning through content so quickly. So storytelling for those guys, we don't do it on purpose. We don't like. We're trying to provide content as quickly as we can. But it's actually a matter of time, rather than something intentional. If we release the story all at once, people get bored. These things that come out.
But what I think is a really interesting angle to actually aim for, to make a game that's all about stories.
That's a great idea, and a group of our games, we internally call them like storyboard games, because the players who play them are really invested in the stories. And we employ a lot of writers, a lot of really good writers, not like game design geek writers, but actual writers, to try and make a really engaging, long story. And also events. Events are really great, like storytelling as well. If you make a global event, everyone has something in common. Why is like this event? We all have something to talk about at the end of the day. And it's the same for social games, right? An alien attack in Empires and Allies. Everyone looked forward to that. So yeah, there's a lot of different storytelling techniques that you can employ in service type games, and it's really exciting. It's not traditional. It's actually it's actually quite a new kind of storytelling. It borrows a lot from television and old media. But yeah, I think it's a totally exciting place to be as a writer. And some designers are narrative designers. So yeah, consider that. Okay. One more. I think we have time to. I'll take this last one.
Are you scared that there will be a moment when you will run out of ideas to make a new game mechanism? Because I think there's actually... What?
There's no end of stuff you can do, right?
Because I think that's actually what's happening with some game genres like racing games, when you cannot really innovate, you cannot really put anything new in there, so making new racing games is all about making new cars and new tracks. So do you think that there will be a moment when making new games will be all about new...
We're just going to be like...
new characters, new stories, new worlds?
Like FIFA 13 or something, where they just refresh the players and then call it a new game. I think gaming goes through trends. What was popular a couple of years back is no longer popular. MOBA, Dota, really becoming a new big thing for esports. Last year it was, a couple of years back it was Halo. That was like a big deal. And StarCraft. We go through trends, and games are always evolving. I don't think that we're going to end up in a place where there are just sequels. I know Farmville 2 is a sequel, but it's done a lot. You can really visually you can see the leap, and mechanically, if you play, you definitely see that it's actually one of the best games that. So no, I don't think we'll end up in that situation. In some. Okay, I think we've done it. But thanks everyone for.